Hello, and thank you for joining us today for The Issues. I'm your host, Vern Fuller. On today's show, we focus on education in St. Louis. I think we can all agree that we have huge disparities in the quality of education among different schools in St. Louis. Why is that? We have so much money being spent on busing and transfer programs, and yet Normandy and Riverview school districts lose their accreditations. With some schools, we have low student skills and low rates of continuing education post-high school, while other schools have 90% of their high school graduates going on to college and advanced education to prepare for a competitive world. What are the real issues? Today on this episode of The Issues, we examine education in St. Louis, also public versus private. Our guests today will tell us their stories and share their experiences and opinions as we grapple with this matter and ultimately search for solutions. We want your input as well. Please give us your questions on our STL TV Facebook page at The Issues. We'll read a few of them live later on in the show. But first joining me on the show are Dr. Tanya Harris, principal of Earl Nance Senior Elementary School, and John Saunders of Cardinal Ritter College Prep School. Welcome to The Issues.
Thank you.
Why don't we just dive right in? What is your assessment of our academics in St. Louis today as we prepare our youth?
Well, I think that our children are growing. I think that as all school communities, we're finding our children coming to schools with some challenges and some needs, and that public education and education in general are meeting those needs. I think that St. Louis, like all areas, is moving towards meeting the needs of our children in a better capacity, and we're going to see greater outputs from our children.
Well, Dr. Harris, you were brought in from the D.C. area.
I was.
Okay.
Yes.
And when you took over as principal at Earl Nance Senior Elementary School, what was the state of that school when you arrived?
Well, perpetually our students had not been performing up to expectation. It had been a revolving door for staff as well as for administration. And I found very caring adults who were rolling up their sleeves every day to meet the needs of our children. And so coming in, I was extremely excited because moving student achievement, ensuring that our children are well prepared, requires having staff members who care and are competent. So I was excited coming into Earl Nance Senior.
Give us an example of some of them. John, I'm coming to you, but give us an example of some of the challenges your students were facing upon your arrival on a regular daily basis, if you will.
Well, I think student discipline issues is not foreign to any school. So there were some discipline challenges. We are in North City, and so there were transient issues in which instabilities in homes and being able to stay in the community was permeating. And then just staff turnover, sadly sometimes in the middle of the year, which is extremely disruptive to the teaching and learning process, were some of the challenges.
Well, two things come to mind. First, doesn't disciplinary practices start at home?
They do. However, they are also a factor of being well prepared for school. And so school communities have to ensure that we are teaching our children what is acceptable in our environments, because what is acceptable at home or in the community is not always what is acceptable practices in the school environment.
Well, let's just talk about the community for a second. Would you say that your school is predominantly African American?
We are.
Okay. I've heard a statistic that 2 out of 3 African American students, John, you can jump right in this. 2 out of 3 African American students come from single parent homes in the St. Louis community.
I'm not familiar with that statistic, but I would say it's probably close to the truth. The perspective that I bring to education is multifaceted from the standpoint of my personal education, being raised in Catholic elementary school, going to public high school, on to college, earning a degree. I've been in and around education either within school environments or within institutions or organizations that support educational initiatives. So the perspective, Vern, that I bring is it's a combination of maybe 5 different factors that I think are integral in a young person achieving and succeeding in education, and that's the young person itself, the family, the community, the school district or the school itself, and the business community, because we all 5 of those components are investors in this process. And then also I bring a different perspective from the standpoint of my 2 sons. My wife and I decided to send them to the desegregation program when they were in high school, because quite frankly, the public school system was not where we wanted it to be for them. Whether it was students' achievement or, as Dr. Turner mentioned, some of the things that take place in the community do filter into the school from time to time. So we wanted to choose the option that we thought was best for them at that point.
Well, let's face it, if you're a parent, you have kids, and you're looking to buy a home in St. Louis, you don't just shop for the home, you shop for the school district. You know what I mean?
That's very true.
And I noticed, John, I've been to Cardinal Ritter. The environment is amazingly impressive. The students all wear uniforms. There's no sagging. I mean, do you think that this is part of the difference? And by the way, you're in that 90% of kids going on to college,
Well,
or close to it, if I'm correct
we're
on that.
actually exceeding that. 100% of our students are accepted to colleges and universities every year, but you have a good point. The environment within the school is based upon the expectations of that student or all students succeeding.
Well,
and
let me go
achieving
back to
success.
Dr. Harris then. If that's the case, then Dr. Harris, why was there so much turnover with your school upon you taking over? What do we attribute that to?
You know, I think professionals make decisions in their personal lives, and while we're not trying to hurt children, we make decisions as to where we choose to work, when we choose to, as you said, buy homes and move our families. And so I think that people were making those decisions in their personal lives, and unfortunately, it had an adverse effect for our children in our school.
But let's fast forward. Since you've been there, and we spoke
Yes,
briefly
we
about
did,
this,
yes.
you've created a team that is now making a difference as to producing results that weren't being produced before. Is that correct?
I will say that we do have a very comprehensive team of teachers and other professionals in our building. And so, no, we have not had the turnover rate for our staff and students that was once being had, but I attribute that to the team of individuals who were already there, who just needed somebody to help galvanize and help shape the direction.
I'm hearing leadership.
I would like to say that there's a lot of leadership in our building, and so I appreciate hearing that I'm part of that leadership team.
Okay.
But sometimes you just need to move people in the area that they're passionate and creating a structure. So I think that I, of course, was responsible for helping to create a structure, but I cannot say that I am the leadership at NANCE that is making a difference. It is a hugely comprehensive organization that has a lot of leaders in our building.
Well, let me ask both of you real quick. Now, do you think leadership is the changing factor here that makes the difference between a successful academic environment versus some of the schools that are not producing the results we want?
Well, I think that's a key component, but I believe the aspect of leadership is also a coaching or nurturing situation, and I'm not sure as Dr. Turner being the principal,
Harris.
Coming in and displaying leadership and also coaching those previous team members and also new people coming in. So when you talk about leadership, it's about coaching. It's about setting the expectation and the environment that is conducive for young people to learn.
But John, when you have children who may come from socially, economically oppressed backgrounds, who have challenges that some of us can't even fathom, is that playing a factor in your ability to educate those kids?
Oh, yes,
Or
it
can
is.
you change them when they come through the door?
Well, Vern, I don't think it's about change. I think it's about modifying where they are to prepare them to go to the next step. So change may eventually come about, but you have to figure out where each kid is, where they are at that point in their lives, and basically develop a plan, individual plan. I mean, we as persons and professions, we have individual action plans.
Okay.
So those students have to have it also.
Thank you, John. Hold that. When we come back, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk with our panel of leaders and parents about the state of education in St. Louis and its impact on our youth, as well as seek solutions in increasing the understanding of how important this matter is to the city of St. Louis. Stay with us.
Have a kit so you're ready for any emergency. Develop a plan for what you and your family will do before disaster strikes, and stay informed during severe weather any way you can.
Welcome back to The Issues. With me now on the panel is Pastor Kathleen Wilder, parent Kendra Campbell, and St. Louis City Public School student Javion Davis. Welcome to the panel of The Issues.
Thank you.
Let's start with stigmas. Currently, I think we can all agree the stigma is that you don't get the same quality of education in inner city public schools that you do in county. Javion, this is all about you. You are currently a student at a local St. Louis public school. How do you view your educational experience?
My educational experience is great, seeing as though I have a very high reading level. That's an 8th grade. I read on 8th grade level. So.
What grade are you in?
6th grade.
And you're reading at an 8th grade level?
Yes, sir.
How'd that happen?
A lot of studying. I have to study a lot. My parents get on me about that, and I try really hard in class.
Awesome, awesome, fantastic. Now, Kendra Campbell.
Yes.
Your
I have
daughter.
a 5-year-old. She's in pre-K.
She's pre-K at what? Well, at a St. Louis City school, but you want her at a different school.
Gateway Elementary. It's a magnet school.
Why is that?
Because they focus on a certain amount of on math, science, technology, and I believe you said engineering, if I'm not mistaken.
So
and
one
I
of
have
the
to get
STEM
there
schools.
myself. Yes.
Okay. Pastor Kathleen.
Yes?
You and I have talked about the stigma of inner city schools. You think that city schools are maybe even better than county schools. Is that correct?
I believe they're exceptional. I would not have my children go to any other school. And my 2 younger children have been recruited by the DSEG program to go to county schools, and I won't even look at their literature.
Why?
Because my children get an exceptional education in the St. Louis public schools. They read well, they get math challenges, they have teachers that care about them and invest in them and treat them as a human being and not a number. And if they have a need, they will make sure their need gets met, and if there's an opportunity for them to have a great experience, their teachers are committed to making sure that happens. And that's just my experience with the St. Louis Public Schools. It's been great. And that stigmatism has been there for over 50 years.
That's true. One of the first questions everyone asks when you meet someone from St. Louis is,
Where'd you go to high school?
exactly.
And you tell everything about a person from that, because you
Right.
tell whether they're a city or a county person, whether they're a Catholic or religious person, or what their social economic status is. And everybody gets boxed by that.
What's unique about you, Pastor Kathleen, if I may, is your family, your kids, some have curly hair and permanent tans. I think we may have a photo.
Oh, they're gorgeous if you got it.
If we have one, we'll post it. But you know, does that have any influence on why you are selecting? There we are. There are your kids. Well, that's when
they were babies.
That's when
That
they were
was
little.
right after Jesse and Grace were done.
Right. They're much bigger than that now.
They are now. There you go. And they're even bigger
They're
than
even
that.
bigger than that now. Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. But when it comes to school selection, did that have any decision making in your school selection process?
Well, when my son Thomas was first going to elementary school, one of the things I loved about his school was Malamphy, was that there was diversity in the school students. So there were white children and African American children and Asian children and Bosnian children, and it was just a rich variety of the world that enhanced his ability of functioning in the world. And I like the fact that my African American children also have the opportunity of being in a diverse community, because it teaches them to function in the world that's diverse.
Okay, very good. Kendra Campbell.
Yes.
You want your child to go to another school and you're on a waiting list. Tell me what that's about.
Gateway, it's like a lottery. You sign up a bunch of list of names of schools that you want them to go to, and basically if they have a spot for your child in that grade level that your child is in, then you'll get to go there. If not, then you'll go on a waiting list. I love the school, but she's comfortable where she is, so if she doesn't get the chance to go to Gateway, if they don't pick her, she'll stay at Nance because she's comfortable there. And my sole purpose is for her to be comfortable in the environment she's learning in, rather than it be something that I want for her. She has to want to be comfortable where she's going, rather than me say, oh, I want you to go here, so that's just where you're going to have to go.
Okay. I want to throw this out, and I want you to answer first, Javion, and then you all can jump in next. One of the stigmas of the inner city schools of St. Louis is that they're not safe. Do you feel safe at school?
Yes, I feel very safe. Our school keeps us out of the violent area that we're in, as seeing as the Michael Brown shooting and stuff like that. It's a very homey environment for us.
Okay. Is there any issues with bullying at your school?
No, sir. We don't have a lot of bullying cases at our school, because our school is such a homey environment, as I said before.
Awesome. Awesome. And Mrs. Campbell, you look like you're itching to get in.
Yes,
Come on.
because my daughter is completely happy where she is. She's 5 and she walks into school. She has kids from his grade like, hi, Mackenzie, hi, Mackenzie. So she feels very safe there, like very safe. The doors are always locked when they're supposed to be. When you come to get them in the evening, you have to be buzzed in. And there's someone looking at you come into the school. And you can't go into this door to where the kids are. You have to go into the office first. You have to sign in. They want to see. They want to know who you're picking up, what class you're going to. My child is very safe where she is. No, the outside community around the school may not be the safest place, but inside, which is where we should be worried about, that's safe.
Well, it's not so much the outside community I'm asking about as it is the interaction among the students themselves.
Oh, that's very safe. I don't see kids fighting and arguing. You see kids playing, doing the normal things they're supposed to do. I've seen students say playing this way. They're not fighting. They're not getting into it about simple things like how you have kids get into it about clothes and things like that, about what someone is wearing. They're not doing all that. So,
a good point, which brings up the topic of uniforms, which I actually have some personal views on. I think a child should never be killed over a $200 pair of Jordan tennis shoes. Do you think uniforms are something that should be implemented in the public schools? Javion?
Yes, even though our school, we have the choice of wearing uniform or just have casual clothing. But I really think our school should actually implement that we should wear uniforms.
Why?
Because, as she said, people can trip off like what they're wearing. Like, as you said, getting killed over $200 pair of tennis shoes. That's an example of why we should wear uniforms.
I like the way you think.
And growing up, I went to Gateway. We wore uniforms when we got over into middle school, but before that we didn't. And I'm not gonna lie, my mom raised us by herself. We didn't always have everything. You understand what I'm saying? So there were times when I was picked on. I've seen other kids picked on about things that they wore. That's not something. When you go to school, you should be worried about learning and getting to know people and interacting with people on a good note. Not worried about, oh, you don't have all those new KDs or your mama didn't buy you new Rocks or Polo jeans. That's just materialistic things. That's not going to get you through life and get you to where you need to be. That's not something any child should be worried about.
Pastor Kathleen?
One of my children goes to a school where uniforms are enforced. The other two go to schools where a uniform is not required. And I think it works for the respective schools. At the school where uniforms are required, they actually have a room so that if for some reason you're coming to school today and you're not fully attired in your uniform, then you go into this room and you get to wear whatever is what you need. If you need a shirt or if you need the appropriate pants, it's there. And they keep it available, which I think is great for any family that might have challenges with getting the uniform, because they don't ask you to pay anything. But it's also a way of, the purpose of enforcing the uniform in his school is to have self-confidence and to feel good about yourself, so that everybody's wearing a nice collared shirt. Doesn't matter what color, as long as it has a collar.
Well, I want to go back to something we were talking about in the green room, where we talked about some of the students who do have challenges, that may be homeless or living in a shelter with their families. And how do you get a quality education if you have to do your homework in the back seat of a car or in a space this big? I don't know that we have a lot of that going on in some of the county school districts. I could be wrong, but in the inner city, again, this could be a stigma, but we do know that it is something that really exists.
Right. The St. Louis Public Schools, and both Kendra's school and my children's schools, and they're all underneath the St. Louis Public School umbrella. And so within that umbrella, there's over 4,000 children that have been designated as homeless.
Wow.
And so there are laws that make them be able to get access to schools so that they don't have to hop from school to school to school as their parents are in shelters or living in cars. And the St. Louis Public Schools has a whole team of people that identify the children who are displaced and help them get what they need for the whole family. So if they need coats in the winter, they help them get the coats. And they help through the breakfast and lunch program, and then they will also help work with some of the parents to help them get housing if possible, or to get into the appropriate program. So they have a whole team that is focused on trying to make it work. But while you're in the middle of that time, sleeping in an emergency shelter overnight as a kid, you're not going to sleep well. And if you're sleeping in a car, you're not going to sleep well. There's a statistic about poverty, and that is the average child in poverty can pack up everything that they have within 20 minutes because they might have to leave.
Wow. Wow. Now, I'm amazed that you all are giving rave reviews on the St. Louis City Public Schools. Would you send your child to Normandy or Riverview School District? Kendra?
No, I would not. No.
Why not?
The environment itself that the school is in at this point, like there's too much going on, there's too much fighting. They're more so controlled on trying to separate all the things that are going on with the fighting and everything else, whether they are educating students. You have students who are there, they are learning. I'm never going to take that away from them. There's always chance to progress when things have gone downhill, but at the end of the day, your main focus should be on educating a child, not trying to keep them from coming to school fighting and doing all these other things that they're doing. Riverview doesn't have their accreditation at this point. They can't get it. It's not saying they can't get it back, but you have to be willing to work as a team to get that back. Focused on everything else than they are the education. Not saying like because it's a county school, it's anything lesser than a city school, because I graduated from a county school. My thing is this, they're more focused on everything else when it comes to the county schools, not trying to get to where the city schools are because they say they're a bad environment, when they should be focused on educating. It went from education to being worried about, is this a safe environment now? And that's not really what we should be doing. Like, city schools aren't bad. There are kids who are actually getting their education, who are graduating. I have a younger brother who goes to school right there off of Wabra. If it's not, what is the name of that school he goes to, Jesus?
That's okay, but it's in the inner city.
It's in the inner city. My niece goes to Co-Brilliant right here off of Corin Cottage. They're both getting their educations. It's not that they're not educating the students. The child has to want to be educated. So you can't say the system is bad itself. It's more so of us coming together, because if it's a system, that means the system has components. That means this is the system. We need to fix this part of the system. This part of the system is wrong.
But you just said it. Doesn't the education actually start at home? Even
Yes.
you, Javion, said, my parents pressure me to study. Therefore, I'm reading at an 8th grade level and I'm in 6th grade.
Yes.
How much of that credit goes to your parents?
A lot of that credit goes to our parents for pressuring me to learn. But, like, I have to study for about an hour before I go outside, or if I even want to play.
Awesome. Awesome. Now, your peers, your friends in school, do they have to go through the same things?
Yeah, because I'm mostly, like, I tutored one of my friends. I went over his house, showed him what I know in reading and also mathematics.
Amazing. Did we not get the brightest kid on this show or what?
Yes.
Okay. My compliments to you.
Yeah, well, and the truth is, our St. Louis Public Schools have brightest kids. Some of them have to overcome a lot of obstacles.
Okay.
And I would, if we lived in Normandy, my children would go to the Normandy School District. The musician, Mr. Foster, who runs the music program, is exceptional.
Wait a minute, Kathleen, why would you send your child to a school that has lost its accreditation?
If I were living in that community, it would be important for my child to be going to a school in that community. And I have met some of the people who teach in Normandy, and I have seen their commitment to the students.
Okay.
And so despite all the political maneuvering that's happening above them, they're still working with the kids. Last year, Mr. Foster took the Normandy choir to sing at Carnegie Hall. He has 3 students right now in the Young Artist Training Program with the St. Louis Opera Company. So when you have committed teachers, when you have committed administrators, they're still going to make sure that kids get a good education despite all the politics and maneuvering above them.
Awesome. Okay, we want to take a quick shot at a Facebook question. And the question is, why are we still hopping zip codes for high quality and safe education? Do you all think that's the case?
Yes.
Why?
My aunt sent my younger cousins that used to attend NANS out to Melville. I believe she just thinks that the education would be better further out, but that's not the case. You're sending them to somewhere where their friends are not there, and they don't get to see the normal things that go on in their community, like how normal kids, they go to school with people they live with and everything else. You can't do that if you're going to school all the way out in Melville and you live down in the inner city. It's not the same. I mean, I understand you want a better education, but you can always get the same education right where you are. You just have to be willing to open up the parameters to do it.
Thank you, Kendra, and we are going to have to wrap up on that note. We hope we have provided a lively discussion with our experts and our guests, special guests we've had on the show. And we want to thank all of you for being a part of our show today. Please keep supporting our efforts, and please join us for our next show and support us here at STL TV. I'm Vern Fuller on behalf of The Issues. Thank you and have a great day. Make sure you check us out on Twitter and also check out our YouTube channel. From all of us here at STL TV, have a great day.